Duncan, Daktari.
Yes, sir.
What do you think motivates Raila Odinga? That's something I was trying to understand. Because I think is a maverick in his own mysterious way. Like, you know, it is just a space he's in that he knows yeye mwenyewe ndio anajuanga anataka nini peke yake.
They are gomboness.
They are gomboness in him. He's the only person who knows what he wants in politics. Because he makes those decisions alone and somehow he manages to pull his people.
He make it alone.
So what do you think motivates this guy? Because he has had all the chances to be president.
And he's very unpredictable. Because some people say that when he was incarcerated, when he came out, he has some development in that he does not trust, but very courageous, because I think being incarcerated, he smelled death. So one reason that I probably find it compliment him is that he has scars to show for this country. When people were fighting for multi-party, you remember he was jailed for about 10 years. I like what Al Sharpton said in the funeral of Michael Jackson. And I'm using that because I know we are talking to a younger population that might relate with that. Al Sharpton said at the funeral to the family and the children of Michael Jackson that there is nothing wrong with your dad, but there is everything wrong with the world that your dad was operating in. I think there is nothing wrong with Raila, but there is everything wrong with Kenya that Raila is operating in. And therefore, he has to be changing tactics and strategy based on how wrong the country is. You see, even at independent, the promise of independent and the idea of what we were to do with the education disease. You know, somebody gave me a story of a factory that was making wheelbarrows. And in that factory, the watchman at the gate job was to make sure nobody leave with some parts of the wheelbarrow, whether it is the spring, whatever, because the parts, they were being lost at a very high rate. At some point, the watchman will be checking, you know, before you leave the workers, una kitu kwa mkono, let me check, no, you are okay, you are okay. But wheelbarrow kept disappearing until they found that there is one person here who don't just steal parts, he steals a whole wheelbarrow. And because the watchman was told, you check for parts, he see the wheelbarrow and look inside the wheelbarrow if there is parts, but the guy is stealing the whole damn wheelbarrow. In Kenya, somebody started stealing the whole wheelbarrow as we are looking for parts. And I think, you know, I respect young people, but I don't just respect age for the sake of age. Raila has been kind of randomly consistent. It's only now that people are getting shocked at the mixed signals, because if his flexibility and portability have actually been his strength, because he's able to weave in and weave out. Remember the destruction of Kanu, when he went into Kanu and he led internal explosion, when he left with the likes of Musyoka and even Saitoti, Mudavadi left and came back. I mean, so you find that the world he has been operating in, which is Kenya, have been a very difficult world. There is a time that everybody thought Raila was going to be president, and remember, it is when Kimunya was the Minister of Finance, and he said they will know that Kenya is not a fish, stock market is not a fish market. I mean, the system have hold him back. He have decided to find out to live, to survive. I will not blame him for the randomness of behavior. I will blame the country and the field. and at least he has stood up for something. You know, they say the builders come and go. To me, the challenge is this generation, and when the other politician chose expediency, when the likes of Orengo were being jailed, we had grown-ups who decided to support the status quo. We had the Kamodo. We had people there. We had people like Omamo, who supported the status quo. So when you know, Martin Luther is saying, do whatever you can. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But do,
let's do something.
Just move. As long as you move.
Right. I can't blame him for at least doing something, but I can question. I can question some of the moves, especially the latest move, whether it has the interest of the ideology that he stands for, and I think he's wavering sometimes, or maybe he's resting at some point.
He takes a breath sometimes.
Yeah, Mandela is saying, you know, I've climbed so many mountains, and with many mountains to go, rest if you must rest. But I think that this Hustler movement have also confused him. Because this is his base. This is his agenda. It's about marginalization. Then DP have come and
he has reinvented
and he has
marginalization.
reinvented it in a tweetable, you know, and human being don't. It's not a thesis defense where you'll be called and told defend the Hustler movement, and the supervisors are there and they're saying, what's your hypothesis? You know, in politics you first appeal to the heart before you appeal to the brain, and that is the problem that people who are overthinking these things find themselves to. Do not overthink this thing. Do not overrate Kenyans' intelligence.
Right.
I like the comment you gave yesterday, or somebody read, that there is nothing like goodwill in Kenyans. There is none. Kenyans just want experience.